thank you all for being here on this holiday weekend. I know everyone has other places to be and sleep late, and you have shown your commitment to your spiritual life, and thank you so much. Well, to state the obvious, tomorrow is July 4th, and it's all about one of my very favorite subjects, as most of you know, freedom, one obvious Independence Day theme. We Americans celebrate that freedom, our freedom, on the physical plane. Our freedom won in 1776 that resulted in France's freedom in 1789 and ultimately Europe's freedom, and I'd venture to say eventually the world's. A huge element in this idea of freedom is the religious aspect that the founders of this country fought so hard for, freedom of religion, to be able to worship God in whatever way one feels drawn. Since this endeavor is the most important one in our lives, I would venture to say the only one in our lives, it is essential to be free to pursue it in whatever way we are intellectually, emotionally, and even physically drawn. As a child, I was Episcopalian. The fundamentalist approach to Christianity served me well. It taught me ethics and the importance of learning about living a spiritual life. But I outgrew that view and started seeing it as a hindrance to all that was spiritually possible. I searched far and wide, including India, and finally found unity 25 years ago, and I've never left. I felt like the Episcopal Church got me up 5 rungs of the ladder, very important, but there were 10 rungs on the ladder. I feel like unity got me up the other 10 rungs. As it turns out, my father had been raised in unity, and he raised me with those ideas. So of course, when I encountered them here at Unity, I felt very drawn, and I felt like I had come home. This all sounds so familiar to me. Probably most of you have similar stories about how you got here. I am very appreciative to be with kindred souls. And I am at this time very, very grateful that the founders of this country made it possible for us to be here today. Freedom of religion is no small thing. We take it for granted in the US now, but in Europe, close to the time that the settlers were starting to come to the United States, people were killed for not practicing the religion that their country's leader dictated. It was so bad, in fact, in Shakespearean England in the 1500s that you never knew when you woke up what religion by law you would need to practice that day. And you were fined if you didn't go to church, and it had to be the right one. Imagine having to get yourself up on Sunday morning, get dressed, fed, and go to church, and then before radio, TV, or internet, having to figure out which church you were supposed to go to that day, the Episcopal or the Roman Catholic. It depended on whether Episcopalian Queen Elizabeth was in charge or her half-sister Mary, who was Catholic. Not to mention that if Protestant little brother Edward VI had sold you your land from what had been confiscated from the Catholic Church when the Episcopal Church was in charge, you would have lost it all when his half-sister Catholic Mary took over. But you would have gotten it back when their Protestant half-sister Queen Elizabeth took over again. And we think we've got problems with the Republicans and Democrats. Yes, we should be very grateful that we have complete freedom of religion and many, many other freedoms that have been secured for us based on our inalienable rights. Those are God-given rights, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. For that reason, it seems appropriate to remember and honor at this time of fireworks and celebration some of the ideas inherent in the Declaration of Independence so that we'll remember and honor what we're celebrating tomorrow and why, day after tomorrow. So what did these founding fathers write July 4th, 1776, that changed the course of the world and set us free from religious and political tyranny? When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. So they no longer believed that they needed to be politically and spiritually enslaved, and they stated their reasons. And we don't need to be enslaved anymore either. And that brings us to a second Independence Day theme. We need to constantly reevaluate our beliefs so that we can remain free of living in ways that don't work for us and the world anymore. For example, it wasn't too long ago that people used the Bible to justify slavery, to condemn people for their unorthodox religious and scientific beliefs, and even to burn people at the stake. Galileo was excommunicated and confined for saying that the sun revolved around the earth. Many still use the Bible to justify their beliefs, like how we are born in sin and that we are basically unworthy of God's love and that we aren't good enough, competent enough, or something enough, when in reality, of course, we all are. Like everyone else, we are perfect and divine. They somehow forgot Jesus Christ's basic teaching, which was that God is love. We know better now, but it is still good to study history a bit so that we don't repeat it. Bottom line, as I've said every July 4th in all the truth lessons, but I repeat, we need to make a personal declaration of independence and free ourselves from any beliefs that are hurtful to us or others, or cost us or anyone else their life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I say this in one way or another, of course, every week up here at Unity. Hopefully we all know intellectually that God wants every living being to have life, liberty, and happiness. Unity co-founders Charles and Myrtle Fillmore taught us that we deserve it, and they showed us how to access it. And I think we at Unity know that it's true and possible, as did the founders of our country. But we, like they, must be spiritual warriors and fight for it by breaking away from all of the thought patterns in us that prohibit us from realizing those things. Your personal declaration of independence can free you to assume these inalienable rights in your life. It can help you remember daily that you can imagine and you can pursue your dreams, your freedom, and your rights, just as America's founding fathers did. This means declaring your freedom from your inner chaos, inner self-doubts, inner worries, and self-defeating thoughts that the world somehow put into you. What is the superpower that can help you do that? God. It's so simple, and we all know about it. But we are so used to fighting our battles alone that we forget that all we have to do is ask the one presence and the one power in the universe to come to our rescue. Ask and ye shall receive. The truth of the matter is that it's already yours. You just didn't see it. Asking is only necessary to help us open our eyes to what is already there. We have always been free to enjoy life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. When we don't see these possibilities, we're like the beggar who thought he was poor, but when he died, they discovered that he had been standing over a pot of gold his whole life. He had always been rich, but he didn't know it. Happiness is always available to us. We just sometimes choose to live apart from God, so we can't see it. All we have to do is to return home to Spirit, to our divine home, and the golden calf will be there waiting for us as it was for the prodigal son. Everything we have ever wanted, abundance, joy, peace, all the things that we think money, power, and fame will give us, but don't. When we let our higher power, God, rule the chaos in our minds, we are free and we gain the whole world. The American Declaration of Independence continues that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. With our personal Declaration of Independence, it is not only our right, but our duty as spiritual warriors to abolish all forms of mental limitations that prevent life, freedom, and happiness, ours and everybody else's. When those limiting thoughts come to mind, delete, delete, delete. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to everyone else in the world. To the eyes in your mind, capital I's, that conjure up poor self-images, delete, delete, delete. The images in your mind that conjure up poor images of others, delete, delete, delete. Flee the despotic, self-serving king of your mind, your ego. Flee from that. Your ego has hold of you, and elect God as the new president of your life, just as the founding fathers of this country fled despotic kings and elected a president of the United States. And it's healthy to look at other assumptions we have inherited about life that might not be in our best interest or that of mankind also. There may be things that we conventionally accept that can have catastrophic results. Wake up, the Bible says. Ignorance is no excuse. It's like the law of physics. We may not understand them, but they're going to operate anyway. Getting in the tub with your hairdryer won't have a good result, even if you don't know about electricity. In the same way, it's just smart to give thought to and to free ourselves from some of the accepted practices of our day that aren't within the guidelines of spiritual laws. Free yourself from them. For example, the settlers of this country had noble ideas about a lot of things, but they also took this great land from the American Indians. They enslaved a great people from Africa to develop this taken land. Later, some of their descendants in the form of corporate America enriched this land, but at the expense of many of the spiritual values that it was founded on. And we've all paid a heavy price trying to rectify these things. But it's never too late for us to change. The Roman Catholic Church recently apologized for acting against the Jews in World War II. They even admitted that they were wrong about excommunicating Galileo for his scientific ideas in the 1500s, and of course put him in jail. It's a first step, and I admire the Pope for taking a stand against these unrighteous deeds, and I imagine that he did so to help people think about how we might be doing some of these same things now. What beliefs might we have now that are accepted mainstream ideas of reality, but which are inaccurate, unspiritual, and causing us and everyone much suffering? We need, of course, to get free of some of these ideas so that everyone can pursue happiness, everyone on planet Earth. Wake up, the Bible tells us many times, and waking up will help us start looking at some of the things we accept now, but which are not in line with the eternal laws, so that we can free ourselves from a lot of suffering and inflicting suffering on others in the future. We don't go to hell because of our ignorance, but we can sure create a lot of chaos for ourselves. I bring this up because I think it's appropriate every once in a while to do some sincere soul searching and free ourselves from a lot of things which we might be accepting as normal, but which aren't spiritually correct. We talk about politically correct all the time. These are not spiritually correct things. We simply must follow the eternal laws for our own sake, to avoid creating mega messes in our lives. The eternal laws are there not to confine us, but to help us have a good life, liberty, and happiness. They are there to help guide us comfortably through the maze of life. They are there to free us from confusion that prohibits our peaceful life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I'm reminded of a few years ago, the French asked the Americans to help them deal with their traffic problems. Do y'all remember that, any of you? Okay. It was a mess, I assure you. The Americans, I'm sure many of you have been to France, and if you were there 20 years ago, the cars in Paris are just going in and out like that all the time, and around the Arc de Triomphe, they've got 8 lanes, and cars are going from lane 1 to lane 8, just straight across. It was a total mess. So they asked the Americans to help them. Some of the Americans went over there and suggested lanes. Those lines in the street, lanes, they had to stay within them. Some of the French felt restricted by this law and all the lanes that they had to observe when they wanted to continue driving like Robespierre behind the wheel. But it resulted in better traffic flow, fewer accidents, and a wiser way to get around. Some French, of course, saw it as their civil rights being usurped and probably never understood that the lanes and the laws about them were really there to help them get where they wanted to go quicker and safer. Universal laws, eternal laws, serve the same purpose. Laws like treating everyone on this planet, everything on this planet, with love. It's going to be a lot better outcome for all of us. There may have been a disconnect between some of the American settlers' daily lives and their spiritual aspirations, like with most humans. And we can learn from this, of course. But for their sincere efforts to gain their freedom and our freedom, which we enjoy today, especially our spiritual freedom, We owe them a great debt. And so to honor them, I suggest that we take this time to declare our personal Declaration of Independence. What might this look like? 1, free yourself from self-condemnation. Whatever you have ever said, done, or thought that is against eternal laws of truth, justice, purity, and love, and of course, vow not to ever do it or say it again. 2, ask God to free you from your chaotic mental army of eyes in your head so they can all be led in the same direction toward God, and thus make your life happier and more peaceful. 3, free yourself of your resentments, your unforgiveness, your past accounts, and even negative thoughts against those who have treated you poorly. Use this for your advantage. It will help you a great deal. Even if those people have cheated you, lied to you, whatever, you will be free of the negativity if you choose. Why? So that you can shed your past, free yourself from it, and not be imprisoned by it. You also will free yourself of disease-producing negativity, and you'll free up time and energy that you can use to pursue your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. All these ventures that need to be, that every person in here needs to go on. You all deserve so much. You shouldn't be hindered by all of these negative things that draw us all back. 4, free yourself of the blinders that prevent you from seeing all the possibilities in your life, all the things you could be doing if you're not telling yourself, I don't know if I'm quite good enough or up to this. Do it. You can. 5, free yourself from your slavery to your programmed mind. Escape and run as fast as you can toward healthy thought systems and your hopes and your dreams. As spiritual beings, don't accept bondage. Run to God's arms. Pardon the anthropomorphic illusion, but the poetry of this expression replaces 1,000 words of philosophy and theology and expresses the idea precisely. Run to God's arms. Don't wait for tomorrow or somewhere over the rainbow. Do it today. Today is the day. You deserve it. And 6, remind yourself that true freedom is aligning yourself with the divine, with God, with the all of the universe. And to conclude the American Declaration of Independence, we therefore, the representatives of the United States of America in General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for our intentions, do, in the name and by the authority of the good people of these colonies, solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states. You are the representative of your life. You have to serve as the earthly representative of the General Congress of eyes in your mind. And you must align with the eternal laws of the world. You deserve to be reborn in freedom from your own programmed tyranny of self-doubts, self-accusations, and feelings of unworthiness. If you don't free yourself from them, you will suffer, and your ego will eventually project your self-incrimination onto others and thus see them as unworthy, incompetent, or maybe even evil. So we have a responsibility to free ourselves from faulty views about ourselves. The millions of people around the world who study the Course of Miracles, and almost any psychiatrist, therapist, or psychology textbook will tell you that if we don't get free of our inner stuff, we'll end up projecting it out onto others. Not a nice way to live, and it can be lethal to those around us too. So when we free ourselves from inner tyranny, what is the best government for us? Well, just look at your coins here. You all know what it says, huh? What does it say on here? In God we trust, on our currency. It's the secret of life. It's your birthright. And when we commit ourselves to it, we will have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Have a great day and a great 4th of July. And remember what we are celebrating, our freedom to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And remember to trust the real head of the government that this country stands for. In God we trust. In fact, to quote Shivapuri Baba in Long Pilgrimage, think of God alone. Put every thought from your mind. Think only of God. And then you will eventually come to the realization of the meaning of life. And I would add that at that point, when you do that, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness will be truly yours in ways that you cannot even imagine right now. Amen.